how to get over speaking on camera and being on social media. So the number one fear that everyone has is the fear of judgment, fear that people are going to see them and that they are going to be judged for what they're doing. Obviously, knowing that it won't be perfect at first, people oftentimes don't even start something. So a lot of people see me and they see, oh, Brando has 800,000 followers. He's always on social media talking, showing his face. This must be supernatural to him. And I'm gonna be the first one to tell you that that's false. And for a majority of content creators, it's also false. The thing that separates us, right? And this is a long journey of us figuring ourselves out. And then when we do get on social media, we're literally just completely focused on being ourselves. The reason why speaking on camera or speaking on social media feels hard is because we're trying to come off in a way where people accept us, where we want to be validated. But the easiest way to talk on social media is by simply just being who you are. There is nobody in this world that is like you. So the number one advice that anyone could ever tell you about speaking on camera, speaking in social media, speaking in public places is be yourself. Speak as yourself. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to show up any type of way for anyone else. But in this video, I want to go in depth with not just, the things that will actually help you, but I want to speak about my own stories and my own personal experience of getting out of my comfort zone. Because we could start from the beginning where I was the shy kid. I was the kid that I wouldn't go out of my way to talk to anyone. I was very selective with my friend groups. I wasn't a social media person at all. I actually felt very uncomfortable with social media. And I always said, like, if it wasn't for barbering, if it wasn't for me, my business, like having to be on social media, I would have deleted Snapchat. I would have deleted Instagram. I would have deleted all of these platforms. But I would say for a part of me did feel socially awkward. And the only time that I truly felt like I wanted to be on social media, it was me chasing validation. It was me hoping that someone would see it and not notice that I was insecure, that I was not confident in myself. So there's a couple things that you can do to get out of that. First of all, it starts by understanding why you became that person who was shy, who maybe didn't want to be on camera, who maybe was too shy to say things, to do things in public, right? So this right here is an example of me doing it even more, because we all do it to some extent, but the main difference is how far out of our comfort zone are we willing to push ourselves. So I've had plenty of videos where I've had plenty of times where I recorded in a park, where I record in public, where I record in front of my students. All of this adds up to us being able to speak in any situation to any type of person. And once we realize that the reason why we lack the skills of speaking on camera or speaking on social media, once we realize that it simply starts from the way that we grew up, our prior experiences, and how people might have reacted to the way that we spoke or the things that we done when we were little. Once we understand that, it makes it a lot easier to go back to get rid of the filth, of the dirt, of the lies that was thrown on top of us doing that thing. Once we're able to get rid of that, it makes it super easy to just figure out how to be yourself. We was just going over this in Bible study earlier today, where we were born pure. God made us in his image. God made us clean. And then when we came into this world, we're surrounded around impurities. We're surrounded by unclean activities. And that is what makes us dirty. We come into this world super clean, and then we are made dirty by our parents, by the schools that we grew up in, by the neighborhoods that we grew up in, by our households. And these are the things that shape who we are. So in order to be good on camera, on social media, we have to uncover all these lies that have been put on us and start revealing who we are at the foundation of that. And who we are is who God made us to be, who God says that we are. And God says that we are perfectly made. So with that being said, I was the kid that I selected my friend groups very cautiously. I wouldn't speak unless spoken to. I was always observant. So me being observant, I knew what it was like to see people who wanted the validation, who wanted to seem perfect, who wanted to be accepted. And instead of me being that guy, I chose to just play it silent. I chose to play in the shadows, which is not that much better, because although I didn't embarrass myself by wanting to be seen as much as maybe other people, what I did do was I inhibited myself to think that that was better than the other person who was doing their best to get seen, right? So when I came into content creation, I'm coming out of high school and I'm starting to realize, man, the only way for me to be successful is by me hopping on social media and doing the one thing that I hate doing, speaking on camera and having to show who I truly am. My biggest fear was me being corny. My biggest fear was being judged by the people that I thought were cool at the time. But what I realized that changed everything was the fact that, do I want to be cool? Do I want to be accepted by cool people? Or do I want to be lame and make a lot of money? Do I want to be lame and successful? Or do I want to be cool and validated and broke? A lot of the coolest kids in school are the brokest ones. They're the poorest ones because they're still trying to look cool. I'm sure you go to your Snapchats, you go to your Instagram, and the same kids that were trying to look cool, that were trying to be accepted in high school, they're still thinking that the same thing applies to real life. And it just doesn't. So that's what changed for me, that allowed for me to realize, man, I'm going on a different path than these people, therefore I have to do something different than the rest of these people. So I dedicated so much time into learning what was actually important when it came to speaking. And I would look for all of these gurus. I'd be on YouTube trying to figure out, man, how do I communicate? How do I speak? How do I show up more confident? All of these things, right? I was just going into like a personal development, like rodeo. Like I just wanted to learn more and more and more and more about myself. And I would read so many books, but I would never implement the things that they were saying because of the simple fact that it was uncomfortable. And I knew all of the things that I was supposed to be doing, but the reason why I didn't do them was because it was uncomfortable. Nobody wants to come out in public and speak. Nobody wants to have their phone out and talk to a camera. Nobody wants to be too loud or make people feel some type of way. The faster you can realize nobody cares, the easier it's gonna be for you to do anything in this life. When I hopped on social media, for example, I realized I have people that support me. I have people that don't support me. I have friends who support me, and I have friends that don't support me. And one thing that I realized is, why would I force someone to stay around me if they aren't the type of person that I need in my circle? If you aren't supporting me, why am I keeping you around me? What is so good about someone else that I need to keep them around, even though they don't support me or they don't see my vision? It's not necessary. So what happens is we're scared to set these boundaries because we're scared to lose people. But what we don't understand is, if we set these boundaries, then the quality of our circle becomes better, because only the people that we truly want, that we truly desire to have around us, stay around us. The thing is, we want these big circles of people, and yet none of them are the type of friends that we want. None of them actually push us forward in the ultimate goals that we have, that we have in life. So we have to realize, what exactly am I scared of? The fear of judgment. Are you scared of someone telling you something that you already know, but you don't want to hear? Are you scared of someone telling you something that's going to deter you from your dreams? Are you scared of succeeding and then maybe not being able to maintain it? At the basis of all of this, the worst possible outcome is you being in the exact same position as the person who isn't doing anything. Your worst possible outcome is you being in the same position as the version of yourself that didn't do anything. That's the worst possible outcome of you hopping on social media. You're telling me that you have all of these dreams, that you have all of these aspirations, that you're overly ambitious, and the one thing that you're gonna let stop you is the fact that someone has something to say about you and your journey? It doesn't make sense. If you want to be successful, you have to be willing to put all of these things on the line. Because there is, again, a version of you that isn't doing the work. And then there's a version of you that says, you know what? I'm gonna do it, and whatever happens, happens. And you quickly realize the people who support you, those are your real friends. Those are the ones that truly want to see you winning. The ones who don't support you, they're not going to be there in the long run anyway. As soon as you get to the top, these people that claim to be your friends, they're not gonna be there with you anyway. So you have to choose your friends wisely. You have to choose your circle wisely. Select your boundaries. That way you can only include the people in your circle who you truly desire, who you truly need. Because if we're being honest, we're all scared of isolation. We're all scared of not having people around us. We're all scared to have to deal with the things that we need to deal with. So we find different ways to cope. We hang out with our friends. We do drugs. We do all these different things, thinking that that's what's gonna get us to get over the fact that we have these overly ambitions and we could just get through the day. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. That is gonna lead to a life of regret. You not being able to become the person that you said since very little that you wanted to become, and you not becoming that person, you will regret every single minute of your life when you look back and you realize, man, if only I would have started that business. If only I would have created that content on social media. Who knows where I would have been? If I would have just started streaming, who knows where I would have been? And if we're being honest, all of this happens because you don't have a relationship with Christ. Because guess who makes all of these things clear to you? Jesus Christ. Christ was persecuted for his beliefs. Christ was persecuted for the message that he had to bring to us. And in the same way, we are scared of a little social media comment. We're scared of people who we don't care about talking behind our backs. Jesus got stoned. And in today's day and age, stoned is comments. Stoned is people sharing your posts and talking bad about you. So you're scared of being stoned. Meanwhile, the apostles and the disciples were getting stoned, left for dead, for preaching the word of Christ. So in the same way, you cannot say that you are a man of God if you are scared of hopping on social media, if you are scared to share the gospel on social media. This is so much more about what's going on internally than anything outside, because the difference between me and you has nothing to do with our situation. It has everything to do with the work that we did internally. That's the only difference. If I would have said, you know what, I'm not gonna hop on social media because those dudes are corny. If I would have said, nah, I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna create content about my barber business because I'm not good enough yet. I would never be where I am right now. I was creating content when I sucked. I was creating content when I wasn't confident. I was creating content when I didn't know what I was doing. If I would have never taken those leaps of faith, if I would have never just threw myself into the water, I never would have became a barber who can make $38,000 in a month. I never would have been able to pay my mom's commissary. I never would have been able to help my family out in times of need. I wouldn't trade anything for the skills that I learned and that I developed while I was creating content. Even through the struggle, even through the doubts, even through the insecurities, I knew that it was going to be worth it. I knew that at some point I was going to change my life around and it was going to start flowing. I had faith. A lot of us don't have enough faith. You want God to act in your life. You want God to give you this blessing, but yet you're not walking in faith. God is telling you, hey, just do it. Who cares what they think? I care. Do what I tell you to do. God is the only one that cares about what you do. He's the only one whose judgment you should care for. Why are we letting our life be centered around people who are replaceable? People who don't value us. People who don't love us. You must learn that you have to put yourself first, that you have to be selfish, that you have to chase after your desires. That when God gives you a vision, that you chase after it. Stop waiting for things to come to you. It's not going to happen. The only way that you're going to get what God has for you is by you going out and getting it, doing the work that it takes to actually go and get it. There is no someone coming in to save you. There is no one marketing your business for you. There is no one leading you to where you need to go. You must first lead yourself. Become the person that someone can look at and be like, yo, you know what? I want to do what he's doing. I couldn't tell you how many people I've inspired by me creating content. How many people whose business I've helped because I started creating content. All these people in my mentorship, I've changed their lives for the simple fact that they saw me doing what I was doing and they said, you know what? If he could do it, it's possible for me as well. And now not only am I helping them with their social media and their content and their business, I'm helping them grow a relationship with Christ. So what's the purpose of what you're doing? Who is being saved by you being silenced? Who is being helped by you staying in the shadows? That's what I had to realize. Because if I stay in the shadows, none of these people that I helped would have gotten to where they were supposed to go. And I would have had to take account for that. I would have had to deal with God's judgment for that. Because he has a plan over our lives. And if we don't accomplish the plans that God has over our life, then how can we possibly live a life and say that we're fulfilled? That we did everything that we came here to do when we know that we left so much on the table. Creating content is a first level problem. If you can't even create content, you're going to struggle all the way through life and you're not going to realize what was at the root of you struggling throughout your life. If you want to know the root problem, again, you have to get to the trauma. What are the prior experiences that led to your current beliefs, that led you to believe that if you post content, you're going to be judged? Because I know for me, I realized that there was a lot of judgment in this world when I moved to New York. I started to realize that there really were people out here that talk behind other people's backs. I started to realize that when things happen in the family, that your own family will talk about you. I was seeing it. It became a real experience to me, and that was something that was new to me. So guess what? Because of those experiences, I started to sit back and observe more. And I stopped doing a lot of the things that I was doing because now I knew if they're talking behind their backs in that way, they must be talking about mine as well. So because of that experience, I believed that this person's judgment, because they were in my family, because I held them to such a high standard, I thought that that was okay. I thought that it was okay for this person to judge, and the way that this person was judging that other person, I thought it was right. So therefore, I began to just sit back in the shadows and become more of an observer. I became more quiet because every time that I spoke, I knew there was a chance that what I said was going to be spoken to another person in a negative way. Because I understood this, I had to realize and I had to correct the way that I was thinking. I had to correct myself. So I became aware, and then I corrected it. And then I changed and I switched that thought with something else. I plugged in another formula. I realized that the problem is not what the other person did. The problem is the gossiping that goes on behind it. So I realized if you are worried about what I'm doing more than what you're doing, then you are the one with the problem, not me. Because I am working on myself. I'm doing the things that I should be doing. I'm trying better and better every day. And if you are more worried about what I'm doing and you're gossiping about what I'm doing, then the problem is not about me anymore. The problem is strictly you and what you have going on. And once I realized that, I was no longer in this shell where I was holding myself in and not being myself anymore. I started to realize that I'm the one that's living my life. I can't base my life around someone else's opinions or someone else's thoughts or someone else's mindset. I knew that if I wanted to get to the levels that I want to get to, being a multi-millionaire, making $100+ million, if I wanted to get to that level, I can't let what someone else is saying about me get to me. I build up my body. I have a relationship with God. I take care of my woman. I take care of my mother. I take care of my family in times of need. There is nothing that no one can say about me because I know deep down exactly who I am. And I'll be damned if I let someone else's opinion on me, someone's misconstrued opinion on me, if I let that affect me and I let that stop me from doing the things that I'm supposed to be doing, I will never live a life of fulfillment, and I'll actually live a life that's full of regret. Because you are going to that tombstone alone. You can't take nobody with you. You are going to heaven or hell alone. There's nobody that you can take with you. It's up to you. This is your life, and you have to manage it the way that you see right, the way that God tells you that you should go. Forget what everyone else is telling you. Forget what is customly right. So forget what is socially accepted, what is politically correct. Because nobody cares. Everyone loves the person who is authentic, who shows up as themselves unapologetically. That's the person that goes the furthest. Because everyone that says something negative about them is because they failed in their prior experiences and they gave up. Or they've been so fed the lie of you should play it safe because that always works. It's not the truth. That's not the truth. So the reason, to tie it all back together, the reason you're scared to hop on social media is because you're more worried about what someone else thinks rather than the future that God has for you. And that is the trick of the enemy. That is a trick of Satan, to keep you stuck, to keep you in a fearful state. And that's not even fear. Let me clarify that. That's anxiousness. Fear is when there is a present danger. Anxiousness is when there is no current danger. It's in the future. Therefore, you're imagining a situation, and the imagination of that thing going so wrong, you're feeling those emotions in current day without that thing even happening. That's anxiousness. So you guys are anxious about what's going to happen. There isn't even a fear. So if you want to start creating content, if you want to start taking content seriously, you must first break down what your past experiences were that forced you to become shy, that forced you to become insecure, quiet. Because you weren't always like that. And then once you are aware of what happens, you must correct it. You must change. You must correct the way that you were thinking. And the best way for you to do that, read your Bible. Spend time with God. Let God give you the clarity that you need. Once you have that clarity, implement the new formula. Implement the new way of thinking. The best way for you to do this is by journaling. I'm gonna make a video strictly on journaling, and I'm gonna break down my journal for you guys, and I'm gonna go through every single journal. That's gonna be the next video. If we could get this video to 5 likes, I will create a journal for you guys, and I will show you exactly how to journal and how this will change your life around. Because what you're missing is the rewiring of your brain. You have to unwire all the false beliefs that were put upon you how you were raised and how you were born in your environment. You have to unwire those and rewire it the right way. And journaling is going to be the best and fastest way for you to do that. And I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that. So get this video to 5 likes. Comment if anything in here helped you out. If there was anything that stood out to you, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts and comments. I answer every single comment. If you are looking for mentorship in your business, in your barbering business, DM me on Instagram, DM me growth. I would love to help you out. We could chop it up and see what we have to do to get you on track. But other than that, share this with someone who's maybe struggling with something similar, or a barber that you know, or a content creator that you know that's looking to take their content seriously. And I pray this helped you guys out, man. Love you guys.